right, I'm excited to get started on the Prim Flowers Hoop 5 block with you today from the Prim Quilt Stitch Along. And I can't wait to get started because look how quick it's going to be, but it's such a stunning and beautiful block. We are going to have so much fun stitching this out together today. As always, we're going to do a few checks to make sure we have everything that we need before we begin. First off, we're going to check our stitchable area. Is that correct with what we're using? Double check it on your machine that you have the correct size file pulled up and the correct file type for your machine. Next up, little quick tip and trick. I always like to get the colors of my threads ready in order so it's quick and easy for me. I actually already have the first color threaded on my machine, and I'm going to go through the rest of the colors here, and there's not that many this time, and we're just going to have them all ready to go. I also always have any fabric applique prepped and ready to go, but this week there is none, so this block is all thread. It's all thread that makes it look like fabric, but I still want to make sure I have my block label. I'm going to need that for at the end when I label my block. All right, if you have everything set and ready to go, your tools, your ironing station, your fused fabric, and your stabilizer, then let's get started. All right, the first thing we're going to do on step 1 here of the instructions is to hoop the fabric and the stabilizer. Now you'll see that there is no number here because nothing on your machine needs to happen. This is just our prep step to make sure everything is correct. We are going to hoop the fused stabilizer, so this fused stabilizer onto the PP fabric, and that's going to give our fabric just the strength and stability that it needs to hold all of these stitches. The second thing we're going to hoop at the same time is the heavy tearaway stabilizer. So I have both of those ready to go, and I have my hoop here as well. So let's go ahead and get that started and do that together. We'll place the bottom hoop there, and you can see on that image that we have the bottom layer of the hoop, then we put the layer of stabilizer on, and make sure it's centered so all pieces are being grabbed. Then you put the fused fabric, PP, right on top, and again, trying to get it as centered and vertical and horizontal as possible. We are going to trim it down afterwards, and we are going to try and catch all the edges and hoop that in. All right. Quick tip is I like to do this on a really flat, even surface so that it does an even pull of the fabric all the way around. And when you push this hoop on the inside down, that it really just has a chance to naturally have the fabric in all the right places without you having to pull and torque the fabric here. All right, once that's in place, we're just going to tighten up our hoop. Good, and that is ready to go. First stitch, everyone. Okay, first stitch, I've already threaded the machine with thread number 8, and this is a fill stitch. This is, imagine this block like the layers of this flower. So this is the underneath layer, all of the vines that are shooting out here. You're going to see what kind of fun and great stitch this is here to do. And all we need to do is get this set into our machine, and let's watch the magic happen. Take it out each time just because we want to just enjoy all of the changes that are happening because a lot are happening. So wasn't that fun to stitch? You're going to notice there's a running stitch that goes around through. You do not need to pull that out. That stays there, and we're going to cover it up as we progress here. So that's just so your machine didn't have to worry about any jump stitches or cuts. Okay, the next stitch we're doing, our machine is going to be on step number 2, and we're using thread number 11 for a fill stitch. So this stitch is mimicking a fabric from Lori Holt's fabric collection. However, it's light and airy, so it really lets your embroidery move and bend as well. So I hope you enjoy watching this stitch out on step number 2. Look at that stitch out. Wasn't that fun? That cover stitch just really makes those flowers feel like they're coming to life. So much fun. This is a good time if you don't have the jump stitches trimmed on your machine turned off, or you don't have that capability. This is a great time to trim the jumps that come from one flower to the other, and as well on the back side. So if you have those on the back side, that you would go ahead and just trim those jump stitches. All right, moving right along. Now we need to put the flower, the tulip that's going right over top on these 4 sides, and that is using our thread number 20. This is step 3 on our machine, and this is a different but cohesive fabric fill, if you will, with this thread color. So let's change this thread to number 20 and press number 3 start on our machine. Take a look at that. It's really coming along. Wow, this is happening fast, isn't it? Again, if you need to trim your jump stitches on the front and the back, now is the time to go ahead and do that. And we are going to move right along to step number 4. Now you're going to notice here that step number 4 is actually the same thread color as step number 1. That is because we are, as we were saying at the beginning, layering each layer of stitch on top of the next, and so it really comes to life and has that dimensional step. So we are going to do this stitch out on step number 4 that is going to cover both the vine and the bottom of those tulips that we just stitched out. So that's why it is separated and placed in a different spot here. Go ahead and switch your thread color to thread number 8 again, and let's watch that happen on step 4. Wow, isn't that amazing how that can happen so quickly? You can see how everything is just a little bit different from the next. So this fill is different from the other one, as well as the cover stitches, but that they all work together. I also want to point out that you can see how the top covers of those tulips are really blending in now and covering both. You can see how the design is really flowing together, like no one would know that it's 2 separate steps. Isn't that so neat and amazing? Okay, we're moving right along to step number 5 with our thread number 12. We've talked a little bit about this before, but I just want to share some tips and tricks with you again. Whenever you're using a really dark thread, just check that your tension on your upper thread as well as your bobbin tension is where you want it to be, so that you don't have any of that bobbin thread coming out. When you look at the back, what you should be seeing is some of the colored thread pulling up on either side of the design. If it's not, you might need to just check your tension. If there's still just a little bit of that happening, what you can always do is wind a bobbin in the same color or a dark color and put it in, and that will just hide any tiny little things that are happening in there too. But go to your machine dealer if you are having any problems like that at all, and they can probably help you with resetting all of those tensions. All right, let's stitch out number 12. I do want to just point out that this is that star block. Remember, we've been talking about it, how it's been pulled from each block to each block. Well, it's right here in the center. Isn't that just genius? Oh my goodness, so fun. So let's go ahead and stitch that one out. Has really made it feel rich and give it so much depth again. This is the point in the process where if you have jump stitches between all of the centers of the flowers and the star, that you would trim them on the front and back as well. Moving on to step 6, which is the center here. So this is thread number 1, and it is going to be a fill stitch as well. Just a reminder, if you changed your bobbin thread here to match step number 5, that you're going to want to put it back to your regular bobbin, your white bobbin right here for step 6. All right, let's change our thread. Wow, look how beautiful it is. Are you feeling really proud? This is all thread. You did this beautiful applique piece, traditionally pieced block here, how it was traditionally applique, and we've turned it completely into machine embroidery and thread work with lots of softness and accents from all of the fabrics in through all the threads with really interesting cover stitches and using all of Lori Holt's designs to do this. So exciting. Good job, everyone. Yay. All right, last step. Last but not least, very, very, very important, and you will be so grateful that you stitched it out. Step number 7 is a basted crosshair. You can use any thread color you want on the top and on the bottom because it's going to be taken out. If you want to really see the bobbin thread, I would recommend changing your bobbin thread now. It'll be much easier to see it at the bottom. I'm going to leave in my red at the top. I feel like I'll be able to see it no problem when I am measuring and trimming everything as we go. So all we need to do left is stitch out step number 7 in the hoop. Well done. Good job. Okay, moving right along to the next page here. This is our page just for this prepping the block. So we've been doing this same process for all of the blocks so far, but never just assume anything. Always make sure you read every single direction and the trim size, just so you can make sure that you are doing what you need to do for this particular block. So step 1 tells us to remove it from the embroidery hoop. So everything is there. I would suggest if you have any jump stitches before you remove it, this is the time. It will be easier to do that now, and it will actually feel easier to pull away your stabilizer if you just do a little bit of trimming if your machine requires it. Some machines do and some machines don't. So just whatever you need to do there to get your back looking nice and tidy and clean. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this from the embroidery hoop. Next, we are going to carefully tear away the stabilizer. I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks. We don't have any applique in here, so we want to make sure we're extra careful that we are not like tugging and pulling on any of these delicate threads. So let's flip the design over. You are only tearing away the tearaway and not trying to pull off the fusible here. And I'm just going to get it started and go to one corner. Then I'm going to just take my finger on the tip of the flower and hold the stitches down as I gently tear away. I'm just going to do that all the way around, but just the perimeter. I'm not going to worry about going on the inside just yet. And you want to keep that stabilizer under those stitches because that does give the stitches continued support. All right, so now all we have left is this inside the middle, and you can do a couple of options to remove it. I'm going to show you both of them here. So the first one I'm going to use is I'm going to take this pair of quilty hemostats, and I'm just going to slide the nose of it all the way in and just use it to pull it out. It has a blunt edge here, but it has kind of like a long neck on it. So it just really slides in really nice and easy to those long and skinny places. And you can just pull out. It also has like little teeth on the inside here that help it to grip. So I'm going to do a couple like that, and then I'm going to show you a few other options of what you can do. All right. Another option of what you could use would be the Bluebird stiletto here. It has a very pointy tip, but it is still not going to like damage your fabric, and it's extra super ultra thin. So it slides under really nicely. You can see how nice and easy that slides under, and you can just get it started and then just slide it in and pull it up along one side, and it pulls out really nicely. So it's just a matter of preference, or maybe you want to use both tools in different areas on how you would like to tear away that stabilizer. The biggest tip is to do it on a flat surface. If you're trying to do this on your lap, it can be really distorting and hard. So if you have that flat surface to work against, then that really helps support your stitches as you tear away the stabilizer. Well done. Good job. Next, we're going to place the block face down on our Jill Lily pad to press it. So we've done so many wonderful detailed stitches that have lots of embossing in them and lots of texture. So what we don't want to do is push the iron down and flatten all that out, reduce the sheen on our threads. So I'm going to move my ironing station over. This is a Jill Lily pressing pad. I actually have it folded in half, but you don't need to just because of my space here. And it's so plush and soft that it really supports the stitches. I'm going to put it face down. It supports the dimension of the stitches as you press on it. And another tip when you're ironing is that you're not going to pull or drag the iron across. You're just going to place it down and hold, and then lift it up and place it down and hold again. Just gently working across the design until you get your desired heat and pressing. Again, you don't need to use any steam on this, just a cotton setting and nice and dry. All right, when you are satisfied about how it's pressed out, then you can take your iron away and we're ready to move on to the magic step. So this is where you're going to be so happy. This is step number 4. So happy that you did that crosshairs stitch out. Now I'm going to bring this all over here. Here I have my Cute Cuts ruler, and what the Cute Cuts ruler has is actually crosshairs directly on it. It has a crosshairs down the center and down the side, and it also has that 1/4 inch seam allowance around the whole thing. So there are 2 ways that you can check your block before you even begin cutting it. There is the crosshairs down the center, but I'd also like to see if you can check here to make sure that nothing is in the seam allowance. This is the seam allowance here, and you want to make sure that none of the design is ending up in there. So when we take this pattern here, we're going to read what sizes you're going to have for each stitchable area: 6 by 10, 8 by 12, 9 by 14, and which Cute Cut ruler you're going to use. 6.5 inch here for the 6 by 10 is what I'm using, And so that is how we're going to place this Cute Cuts ruler on top of our design following this chart. This is on every single block pattern, just in case there's any differentiation that's happening throughout the sizes. So just always make sure you reference your instructions before you trim. All right. So we're going to lay out here and find the crosshairs that we stitched out here on our design and match them to the crosshairs that is on the ruler. So you take them in the center and you go down and make sure that they are all aligned. Once they are there, I'm going to do that double check on my seam allowances all the way around the design and make sure that none of the design is popping into the seam allowance. I also have a nice good edge around it, and I'm going to cut one or two of the sides that feels the most safe for me to cut here without having to rotate the block. Then I'm going to, so I'm not in an awkward position, rotate this whole block around. And once it's all laid out flat, then I'm going to align up my Cute Cuts ruler again with the center crosshairs, but also making sure that those two cuts that I made are already there. And I'm just double checking the tops of my seam allowances there before I do the cuts as well. And excellent. Okay, yay, look at that. So beautiful. So here we have our flower block. It's already been trimmed. You can see that it's completely centered and it's ready to go. But before we finish off this block, there's a few things that I'd like you just to remember before we finish. So we're going to take that basting stitch that we did in the center, the crosshair, and if you grab it from the back, if you've changed your bobbin thread, you'll notice this, but if you grab it from the back and you just lift up that thread at the back, you're going to see how easy it comes from the front. You can also grab it from the front, but you want to be very careful on your stitches there. So you can see how easy it comes out from the back here. Just find those basting stitches and pull them out in a few spots. And then once you flip it out, once you're able just to kind of get a hold of it here, look how easy it just pulls out. It just completely pulls out of there. And you're going to want to make sure you've removed all of the crosshairs from there very carefully and without pulling anything too hard. Good. And you just kind of grab a hold of it and it will come out. Get all the pieces out, brush them away, and just make sure that the back is also cleaned up and you are ready to go. So the last thing that we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my label again. Here we go, yes. I'm going to smooth out my block so we can see and enjoy how beautiful that prepared block is when we go into the setting. But I do want to take this label from our block labels, and I always put it on the back just so when we get to our setting instructions, it's really, really easy to know exactly which block goes in which place. So I just pin it to the back always. It's just a really good sort of like working habit to get into so you don't ever have two blocks that look too similar, and you have it ready to go. Congratulations, everyone. You did such a good job stitching out this thread-only Prim block in the Prim stitch along. Let's take a moment and enjoy all of the other blocks that we have stitched here already in this stitch along. You're doing so wonderful, and look at all the great designs. Oh, I'm going to put them in a little different order. And you can see how all of them have that sort of matching brown star that's connecting them all. So much fun. We cannot wait to see what you are making with the Prim stitch along. Thanks so much for joining us.